Welcome on in here to Wager Talk Extra. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, alongside all of my guests, letting you know no matter what you're cashing in on, that money is all going to spend the same. And all golf edition, talking a little PGA Championship on the show here today. Andy Lang's going to come on with the segments you know and love. We got players that can trip you up, his DraftKings Darlings, and he's also going to take a look at who's been good, who's been bad around the green, and why that's important. He's also got a top 20 best bet for you. And then Nick Borrman's going to shut things down. He's also going to look at long strokes gained. And then he's got some outright plays. And he's got a top 20 and top 10 play for you. So all kinds of actionable info coming your way. Wager Talk Extra. So let's get right into it. Say hello to the man himself, Andy Lang. And Andy, let's start off, man. Players that can trip you up. We have a little head-to-head with one of these golfers you're going to be talking with our man Nick Borrman. I love it when we get the fisticuffs out. So who are we eyeing this week?
Yeah, Dan, I've got three guys that I'm pretty worried about this week, and I'll start with, he might be the most popular golfer on the planet right now, and that is Rory McIlroy. And listen, I see people picking Rory every single week to do well, and that's fine. But if you picked him to do well in 2023, you were correct at the match play and the Arnold Palmer, and that's about it. You were wrong on the other five. And I feel like that's what we do with Rory, that he's so likable that we want him to win so much that we end up kind of overlooking some of the holes in his game. And I mean, the biggest one is his putting. His putting is just terrible. So he's 11th in total strokes gained this year, but that is mostly his driving distance. He's, top 3 lengthwise driver of the golf ball. But then when he gets to the green, he's minus 0.03 strokes gained putting, and that's what always trips him up at these tournaments. He just can't close the deal on some of these putts when he gets in close enough. So this is a really long course. His driving is going to help, but if you can't take advantage when you get to the green, which is what's been happening with Rory McIlroy, I just don't see another great finish for him until he fixes that. So he's overpriced, in my opinion. He's not worth the investment in this completely stacked field. So I cannot get there on Rory McIlroy this week. The next player I'm a little worried about is Brooks Koepka. Listen, put on a great show at the Masters. Therefore, he's going to be great at the PGA Championship, right? I don't know about that one. He said himself at the Masters he got the best tee time possible on Thursday and Friday. He avoided most of the bad weather while everyone else had to play in some kind of version of the bad weather. And then he goes on to shoot 73 and 75 on the weekend. Not good. Awful numbers around the green, which is a stat that I'm really looking at this week. I'm going to eliminate a lot of guys from who I want to bet on just because of around the green numbers. I'll tell you why. He's priced as a top 5 guy this week. I'm not sold on him. When he was at the peak of his powers on a PGA Tour, he could overpower these courses. He did it at multiple PGA Championships where his driving was incredible. I don't see it this week. His around the green numbers are terrible, and he's outside the top 20 in driving distance in this field. So when he was on the PGA Tour, this guy was, top 5. Now he's outside the top 20. He's not going to have the big weather advantage this week. The weather is going to be pretty similar all the way through. I think he disappoints, and I think he trips people up this week. And finally, I'm going to go to another live golfer, Cameron Smith. I'm not sold on him. He wasn't good at the Masters. He finished 34th, way below his price. He does not play well at PGA Championships. He has one finish better than 25th in 7 attempts. So even when he was on PGA Tour, when he was playing his best golf, he just wasn't very good. He doesn't drive the ball very far. He's not very accurate off the tee. Total strokes gained there is minus 0.63. And around the green, plus 0.08, so very, very close to just barely around even. If he's bad off the tee and not good enough around the green, honestly, it could spell miscut. I don't know if his game really translates to this course very well. I disagree completely with him being priced as a top 12 golfer this week. I don't think he flirts with being near the leaderboard. I think this is a really, really tough week for him. So I like Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, and Cameron Smith. It's kind of deliver below their value. Those are my three guys that can trip you up. And Dan, I would like to give a little bonus. Just be careful with Jordan Spieth. I think word is coming out that his wrist injury is real. I had some notes here that, he withdrew from the tournament last week because he said he had a wrist injury. He was terrible the week before. I don't know. Maybe it's much ado about nothing. It appears that it is a real issue with Jordan Spieth. So don't put him in your DFS. Don't put him in your seasonal fantasy. Stay away from Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, I feel like a wrist is something a golfer probably should have shored up heading into Oak Hill Championship weekend. So Jordan Spieth.
If you see wrist and back injuries in golf, no way. Get out of there.
Unless you're Tiger Woods on a comeback some way, somehow. That's the only time that the back, I guess, doesn't worry you. All right, hey, great breakdown there. Some players that you want to avoid this weekend, but you also have some players that you want to slate in for DFS. You can always check Andy out at wt.buzz/AL. He gives his full DFS lineup to get you the best actionable info heading into the weekend. So, Andy, DraftKings Darlings time. What are your eyes, or what are you eyeing this weekend?
Well, Wyndham Clark is, man, what a great value he is, 7,500. This guy is sixth in FedEx Cup points this year. Sixth. He's just been fantastic, especially the last 9 weeks. He doesn't have a missed cut this season. He has a win as a 5th, the 6th, the 29th, and the 24th place finish the last 9 weeks. He's top 11 in that time frame in total strokes gained. I don't think people realize Wyndham Clark has been good all year. This is not just kind of a flash in the pan. He's having his best year of his career by far. This guy's a legit contender for FedEx Cup points. He's going for top 10 and top 5. So to get him at 7,500 is a great value. Drives the ball pretty far. So great look at 7,500. Up next, Ricky Fowler, 7,600. I don't know if there's been a more valuable guy for DraftKings than Ricky Fowler. He's also a make the cut king. He hasn't missed the cut yet this year. Top 10 in total strokes gained this year. He just keeps being really underpriced, which is great for us. We'll take it. So he doesn't drive the ball as far as Wyndham Clark, but he's still long enough off the tee. His putting has been his Achilles heel the last few years, but it looks like he's fixed that, and the results are there. I mean, top 10 in total strokes gained, a real resurgence here for Fowler. Let's get him at 7,600. And then Adam Scott at 7,800. Here's another golfer that hasn't missed the cut yet this year. He's been driving the ball pretty far this year. He's coming off of 2 top 8 finishes. Those were in weak fields, I get, but he was top 40 at the Masters. He has good stats across the board in most categories. So I got 3 guys here that I think should be top 40 contenders, and all we need for them to do is to make the weekend and get us solid points on the weekend. And Dan, you mentioned the article. That article is up on WagerTalk.com. It has the rest of the golfers I like in my favorite lineup. That's free. Just go to my profile page, and you can download it for free there.
Yeah, and why I always think people, shouldn't just tune out. You say, oh, I'm not a DFS player. What do I really care about the DraftKings Darlings? Really, what you're looking for these players to do are players that could be make the cut players, or players that could be top 20 players, fringe top 10 players. So it's not just, hey, slate these guys in if you're playing DFS. It's also, some great chances to maybe get some guys to make the cut, any of those different props that you're able to bet on there as well. So always love when you drop the DraftKings Darlings, and we get to see Andy giving his best blue steel. So I look forward to it every week. All right, Andy, before we get your best bet, you also wanted to just break down, when we talk to Nick Borrman, he's going to look at, season-long numbers, how people are doing with their strokes gained. You really wanted to ISO in, and you talked about it at the top of your segment, players around the green and why this weekend it's ultimately important. So I guess let's start taking a look at who's good. You can finish up with who's bad and why you think this is important, especially for this weekend.
Well, let's take a look at the course real quick. It's Oak Hill. It's a very long course. It's damp up in the Northeast, Dan, as you know. It's just not been a very, very dry area up there. So the course is already a little bit moist, which means no roll off of your drives. And they've revamped this course quite a bit from when they last played it in 2013. They've taken out a lot of trees, but they've lengthened it. You've got par 5s that are over 600 yards. So these guys are not going to be able to get there in 2. And what you've got around the greens is they used to have a lot more rough right around the greens. But now you've got a lot of false fronts and you've got a lot of slopes that they've taken out the rough. Well, that means the ball is going to roll off of the green into a lot of collection areas. Expect these guys to have long approach shots because the course is so long and they're not going to get much roll. You're going to get a lot of drives that just hit the ground and stop. So you're going to have a lot of long irons coming in. And you're also going to have a lot of bunkers that are going to be brutal on these guys in the fairway. These fairway bunkers are placed perfectly, and they're going to cause a lot of really tough second shots. So when I'm looking at around the green, I think it's because hitting these greens are going to be really difficult this week. So let's take a look here at some guys who are good around the green and who are bad. We'll start with who's good. Sung J M is looking good this year, plus 0.50. Justin Thomas has been good, plus 0.53. Kuchar, now he's good around the green at plus 0.63, but this guy is not long off the tee. I worry for him this week. Matsuyama's good around the green, plus 0.50. Again, though, another golfer that is not long off the tee. So they're desperately going to need to be good around the green. And Patrick Reed coming over from Live Tour, plus 0.68. He was great around the green when he played on the PGA Tour. I think that's going to help him this week. I think he's a dark horse coming from the Live Tour. It wouldn't surprise me if he was the best finishing Live Tour player. Who's bad? Well, we mentioned Brooks Koepka, minus 0.33. Brooks is pretty long off the tee, but I don't trust his game around the green. Victor Hovland is the big one here. This is the guy. This has been his Achilles heel from the time he joined the tour, and he hasn't been able to fix it. So Hovland at minus 0.27. That completely eliminates him from me betting on him this week. I will not have him in DFS. I won't have him in head-to-heads. He's just not good around the green. Gary Woodland, former major winner, he's bad, minus 0.28. Dustin Johnson, here's another guy coming from Live who can drive the ball pretty decent, but once he gets around the green, he's terrible, minus 0.60. And then we have to bring up Bryson DeChambeau, who is absolutely terrible in every single category except driving distance. That's it. He's basically a long drive guy. And even then, he's like losing all of his muscle. He's really bad. And I noticed on a couple websites, he's plus money to miss the cut this week. He's minus 0.90 around the green. He's equally as bad putting. His short game is just absolutely awful. So there's a real good one for you to fade this week, DeChambeau.
So you're basically saying Bryson DeChambeau is Happy Gilmore before he goes to the mini golf course and learns how to putt.
I mean, if you look at Bryson DeChambeau's career, it's hilarious because he's this complete math nerd in a great way. He completely revamped his body to hit the ball 1,000,000 miles, and he won a major. So his experiment with doing all that to his body, he won a major. He got his big bag of money going to Live, and now his body's kind of a wreck and it's full of injuries because of what he did to his body. But it was worth it. Anybody would trade for that. I won. I got one of the biggest paydays in golf history, and I won a major. Yeah, I'll take it. So as bad as Bryson is right now, you got to say his career is a success.
Yeah, so with the big payday, at least he was able to save his grandmother's house after all. All right, Andy, before we get to your best bet here, you got a top 20 play for the folks. Early on in the week, we're recording here on a Tuesday, which means Andy7 is a great code to use to get some 7-day all access. Tell them about it and what else you'll have up this weekend.
Yeah, I really encourage everyone to use the promo code Andy7. It gets you 7 days for $79. That way it includes all of our golf plays. We have a 5% UFC play that is up. You'll get that as well. You get all of our plays in NBA, NHL, MLB. So go ahead and grab that. If you just want the golf plays, grab those. Those are up on WagerTalk.com. Turn a profit 3 out of the last 4 weeks. So running really good. We've never had a losing season in golf. We're up plenty this year, so looking forward to extending that streak. And we got a pretty loaded card for this week. So many plays, it's tough to narrow it down, but you got to kind of narrow the plays down a little bit and only pick the best of the best. So just grab the golf pack or use the promo code Andy7 for 7 days.
Man, one of the most jam-packed episodes yet here, and we're not done as you have a top 20 play. So best bet on the way out here, Andy.
Shop around. I'm seeing prices completely different at a bunch of different books, but look for Xander Schauffele to finish inside the top 20. You need to look at prices, but you also need to know if your sports book grades these plays using the dead heat rule or if they pay out on ties. Search for a book that uses pay out on ties. I tend to use BetMGM the most for these top 20s and top 40s. But let's take Schauffele. He's finished 10th or better in 4 straight tournaments. He's finished top 20 in 12 out of his last 15 tournaments, which is amazing. In the last 2 months, he has a better total strokes gained than John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, and Rory McIlroy. He's finished 16th or better in 3 out of the last 4 PGA Championships, even though those are on different courses. PGA Championship courses are a little bit similar, where they're pretty long. You're going to need to be good around the green. So I like that he's got good history at PGA Championships. He just can't quite get over the hump for a win at the majors, but he's just always there. So he's a kind of a bad bet to take outright, but he's fantastic to take inside the top 20. So I expect him to be in the top 20 this week. Don't think he's going to quite get there. I hope he does at some point. But for now, let's play it safe. Take Schauffele over top 20.
He is Andy Lang, and if you are not ready for Oak Hill this weekend, you definitely will be by the end of this show, because we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be bringing in our man, Nick Borrman. We have a little bit of a head-to-head. What's that all about? You'll find out right after this here on Wager Talk Extra. Welcome on back here to Wager Talk Extra, and I'm excited to talk to my man Nick Borrman here, talking a little PGA Championship this weekend. And man, we have a little consternation, a little back and forth. What's that all about? You'll have to stay tuned to find out, between our 2 panelists, Andy Lang and Nick Borrman. I always love when we got some shots fired. So Nick, before we get into your outright play you love coming with, and your top 20 and top 10 play, let's just start with an overview that you have coming in, and it's all about strokes gained. Why do you have this chart for us, and what can we kind of extrapolate from it?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. We kind of broke down this chart last week for the Byron Nelson, and what this is the top 10 players' total strokes gained per round. So it's the average of strokes gained per round over the last 12 months heading into the tournament. Why I look at this graphic going into any event is that you can see right at the top there, 17 of 28 tour winners this year, so 61% of the winners this year have been within this top 10. So it's a very good indicator of future winners. We know betting golf outright winners is very, very difficult. And of course, I mean, you're going to expect that the players that are going to be here are also going to be the odds on favorites. So it's not really surprising, but it does help you zero in on which guys to look at. And a lot of these bigger events, especially a major, you're going to put most of your money in the guys near the top anyway. You don't see as many long shots, although we have seen a couple, like Phil 2 years ago at the PGA win at this particular one. But generally speaking, these are the guys you expect to be in contention. And what you can see here, that's who you expect there at the top. The big 3 are right there at the top. But you do see a drop off on form, and which, if you've been paying attention to golf, you're not surprised by that, by Rory, Scotty, and John Rahm. Steady, 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, but Rory has fallen back here over the last 6 and 3 months. So, and respectively, this is the time you've seen his odds drop. Now he's at 14-1 compared to the other guys at 8-1. So if you're ever going to bet on Rory, this is probably the time to do it. I can't get behind him this week just because I don't like what I see, but everybody else you'd expect here. Xander's been as consistent as they come. Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau. And then you got the next wave, Sungjae, Homa, Young, and JT. And then I added a couple other notables in there, guys that are right outside that top 10 and then have been playing very well recently, including Jason Day, Dan, who we hit the outright on last week. Unfortunately, he wasn't the guy I gave out on the show, but it was still nice to cash Jason Day last week at 19-1. We'll try again this week.
Hey, we give them out for free for the folks, so they have some nice actionable info, but we always say you want those client premium plays, you got to head on over to wt.buzz/NB, and you could have been cashing right alongside my man, Nick Borrman. Also, what I loved on that chart is that you're doing the line shopping for your clients. You know, you're being able to find them the best number available, because at the end of the year, when you're trying to see, hey, was it a profit gain? Was it a profit loss? Getting a plus 800 over a plus 750 will be ultimately important. So love the line shopping being done by my man, Nick Borrman there. All right, let's get into it. Last time when we were talking about these strokes gained, you went with a guy who wasn't on the list. Now you're finding some value on a guy who is towards the top of the list. Who are we looking at for our outright this weekend?
Yeah, this is probably going to be a roll your eyes kind of a chalk, play breakdown. But there's a reason Scotty Scheffler is near the top of the list. And I look at last week as the perfect warm-up for Scotty. He played right there in his backyard at the Byron Nelson. He could sleep in his own bed, and he finished a cool tie for fifth, which is just a perfect way to get in tune for this PGA Championship. You might be surprised to see him play the week before because a lot of the big guys won't play a week before a major, but he last heated up prior to that a month ago at the RBC Heritage. So that was just to get some reps in, really, and he damn near won the tournament. So I don't think there's going to be any issue with fatigue coming in. That was a more sharpen your skill set. I don't think I need to go into too many details, Dan, on why to bet Scotty. Everybody knows how good he's been. Everybody knows his results. I mean, you can look at his stats. They are fantastic. I'll list a couple that are important to me, and I'll also mention that over his last 13 starts, his finish, Dan, is a tie for 12th. So you're getting a guy that you know is going to have a chance on Sunday. So I love that, especially coming here at a major. He's got 7 top 5 finishes in those 13 starts too. So that's another way to back up an outright play, is to take him on a top 5 marker, which is a nice plus price on Scheffler. But here's some numbers I like. This season, Scheffler, first strokes gained off the tee, first tee to green, first greens in regulation, second in total strokes gained, and second in scoring average. But my 2 favorite stats, particular to this tournament and this golf course, number 1 in bogey avoidance. This is going to be a tough track. Rough is gnarly. Greens are small and fast, so avoiding bogey is huge. And number 1 in par 4 scoring. This is a par 70 track. There's only 2 par 5s out there, which is where the guys normally eat it up. So there's 2 extra par 4s this week, and he is number 1 on tour in that category. Got to back my man Scotty. 8-1 is not a great, a long shot number, but I wouldn't expect a long shot to probably win this week anyway. So I'm going chalk, Dan. I hope we can cash on Scotty this week.
Yeah, and I hope you have a nice tall glass of water to wash down the chalk that you're eating here with Scotty Scheffler. But hey, if we get an 8-1, man, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining about Nick, the chalk-eating weasel Borrman. So, hey, I think sometimes the chalk wins just the same. So people love those plus money prices. Still 8-1. Not too shabby. All right, Nick, before we break down your top 10 and top 20, because it is a bit of a head-to-head with what we just heard from our man Andy Lang, I want to know, what do you have locked and loaded this weekend coming up? I know Champions League in play as well. It's not just golf that you handicap. So when people head on over to your page, wt.buzz/NB, what kind of stuff are they going to see for this weekend?
Yeah, it's a loaded week in Champions League and Europa League. We got semifinal action, so I got a play going on Tuesday, best bet again on Wednesday, and one on Thursday as well. And there's an MLS midweek slate, first of the year, so games on Wednesday, and I do have a pack up for that. But of course, the big pack this week is this PGA Championship pack, and I got my outrights and my leaderboards included in there, which includes a 5% top play leaderboard bet in this pack, and you can grab that all for just $29 for all 4 days, Dan.
That is a terrific deal you're giving to the folks over there. So grab that 4% in the pack, just $29. Man of the people, Nick Borrman, alongside. Isn't too chalky. I like this. This is some nice plus money action that you got here for the folks, Nick. You're looking at a top 10 play and a top 20 play for a golfer that Andy Lang said might be struggling this weekend. So make your case for why Brooks Koepka will not be.
So full transparency, I 100% avoided LIV guys at the Masters because, the hardest thing about handicapping those players is honestly everything. I mean, you can't compare stats to anybody else on the PGA Tour. They don't exist. It's difficult to compare results because both tours are competing against totally opposite fields. The one thing that we do now have is the Masters. And I think a lot of people were surprised at how well the LIV guys fared at Augusta, including myself. I mean, Koepka obviously had the lead heading into that final round. He couldn't close the door, but he finished joint runner-up with another LIV guy, and surprising result from Phil Mickelson. But again, a golf course that he usually does well at, so you got to maybe throw an asterisk there. And then Patrick Reed, tie for 4th, and then Joaquin Niemann rounded out another top 20. So it was a very strong showing from the LIV guys. Like I said, the Masters is maybe the most predictable tournament of the majors, held on the same track every year. But I do think it still shows that these LIV guys can actually still play golf because many people think that they can't. So in his last 4 LIV starts, Koepka has a win, a 3rd, and a 6th. So if you're taking anybody, I feel like he's the best informed player on that tour. So they get, as is full transparency, it's my first LIV bet on anybody on a PGA Tour event, or I guess a major is all they can plan, since they defected to that tour. So it isn't without warning, I guess you could say. But I think Koepka's going to have another good week. He's won this event, the PGA Championship. I mean, it's a different golf course, obviously, but he's won the majors. He's got 4 of them. He's got great distance off the tee. This course is going to play very long this week, par 70, 7,400 yards. And when he's playing his best, his iron play is elite. And he's a reason he won 4 of these, and he finished top 10 in 13 others. So I think Koepka, like he did at the Masters, can at least give us a chance on Sunday. So I hope I'm right. Good luck to you, Andy. I hope you're wrong.
Well, they got to hop below in the comments. Who do you think? Is Koepka getting tripped up, or is he getting that top 10 spot? We riding with Team Borrman or Team Lang? Let us know in the comments below. Nick, people already know what they'll find over at your page. Huge thanks, as always. Love the breakdown. And also, make sure you go back and check out that chart that Nick dropped there. Great info to get you ready for the weekend. And as always, check him out over at WagerTalk.com. That's going to do it for our Oak Hill preview here. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. All we ask you to do, hit that subscribe button. Big thanks to Andy Lang. Big thanks to Nick Borrman. Big thanks to the production team doing a terrific job behind the scenes. Best of luck until we chat next year. I've been your host, Dan Alexander, and we'll see you next time on Wager Talk Extra.